Hello, Mom? You were hospitalized for malnutrition? Weren't you eating properly? I've been sending you money. Yeah, thank you for that, but 60 cents, the fee costs more than that, so don't worry about it. 60 cents? What do you mean? I am broke and have been living a frugal life, cutting down on food and utility expenses. Eventually, I collapsed from malnutrition. My eldest son, Raymond, has been sending me 60 cents every month. I told him it's not the amount, but the thought that counts. I thought I'd been sending you $1,100 a month. Soon, shocking truths were revealed one after another from Raymond. I am Caroline. I am turning 80 this year. I lost my husband 5 years ago, and now I live alone in an old apartment. Since getting married, I have been a full-time housewife, relying on my own pension and my husband's survivor's pension as my only income. Life is not easy, and I've been cutting corners day by day. Of course, I save on food expenses, as well as utilities and water bills, and I barely get by living in a cheap apartment. Today, it has been lightly snowing since morning, but I don't turn on the heater to save electricity. I wear a down jacket and layer warm pants in the house to stave off the cold. My fingers are trapped and bleeding from doing chores with cold water. I have frostbite on my left hand, which is swollen and red-black. As I rub my stiff fingertips while cleaning up after lunch, my daughter-in-law, Samantha, comes to visit. Hello, mother-in-law. I brought this week's medicine. It's the usual $80. Samantha brings me medicine every week. Raymond also cares for me, but he's busy as a pharmacist at a large hospital, so Samantha looks after me. A few years ago, Samantha accompanied me to the hospital for checkups, but recently she only delivers the medicine. It's cheaper this way, she says. Honestly, the medicine is a big expense for me, who is broke. However, I am told that stopping the medication will cause discomfort, so I have it delivered every week. Samantha used to be a pharmacist at a hospital like Raymond. However, she quit her job after getting married and now works part-time at a local drugstore. I'm always grateful for your help, Samantha. By the way, do you know anything about the box of rice crackers I had stored in the drawer? The one with the kids' scribbles on the lid? It's been missing since last week. I point to the dresser in the back. I had Samantha tidy up around the dresser last week, but the box has been missing ever since. Inside the box, I had kept my hard-earned savings. A box of rice crackers? I don't know anything about that. Maybe you put it somewhere and forgot about it. Can you not blame me? Samantha, perhaps hurt by the suspicion, took the money for the medicine and left with an unpleasant look on her face. I can't argue with that. After putting away the medicine, I grabbed my cane and went toward the post office. Today is the end of the month. Since my husband passed away 5 years ago, I have had no other income than my pension. My son Raymond, concerned for me, has been sending me money every month. My bank book spit out from the ATM, as usual, had deposit 60 cents written on it. The amount sent was so little that the transfer fees seemed to cost more, but it's the thought that counts. Though it doesn't help much with daily life, I am grateful for it. After leaving the post office, I headed to my regular greengrocer. Since I visited every week, I became quite familiar with the energetic owner Dane, who is in his 60s. When I went to the store just before closing, I could get unsold and bruised vegetables at a discount. I always went to the store in the evening, targeting those discounts. Today, I got bruised turnips and radishes and wilting spinach. I thanked Dane and went home to pickle the turnips and radishes in my homemade brine. The secret brine pickles I've been making for years as a hobby and to save money are excellent in both flavor and texture. I had a simple but delicious dinner of spinach and pickles. Lately, my health has been deteriorating. I feel dizzy when I stand up, and I get short of breath just from moving a little. My nails and fingertips are also in bad shape. Perhaps my body is weak because I haven't been eating well due to cutting food expenses. I've had health issues before, but I never paid much attention, thinking it was due to age. But recently, the pain in my body is unbearable, and the dizziness is terrible. I tried calling Samantha to see if she could take me to the hospital. The hospital? Just for dizziness? Well, I'm old, so it might be inevitable, but I'm worried. I haven't been to the hospital in years. Could you take me for once? But I'm busy, I don't have time. Raymond is working nonstop too. I'm sorry, but can we do it another time? It's not that urgent. As I expected, Samantha refused to accompany me to the hospital. Even the nearest hospital is quite far from my home. Being broke, I can't afford not only the medical fees, but even the transportation costs. Oh, and please don't contact Raymond. He's in a crucial period at work. If anything happens, please contact me." Samantha emphasized that and then hung up the phone. I sighed and took my medicine with cold water. One day, as I was chatting with Dane at my usual greengrocer, I was hit by another severe bout of dizziness. Unable to support myself with a cane, I squatted down on the spot. Dane rushed over. "Are you okay?" and peered into my face. The dizziness didn't subside even when I sat down. "I'm just feeling a bit dizzy. Nothing's wrong, I'm fine." As I said that, I tried to stand up forcefully. Suddenly, the world spun around and I fainted. When I woke up, I found myself in a hospital bed. Dane was sitting beside me. Receiving an IV drip, I heard the story from Dane. Apparently, after I collapsed at the greengrocer's, he called an ambulance for me. I had slept all night since being brought to the hospital, and it was already bright outside. The doctor explained that I had anemia due to severe malnutrition. Unbeknownst to me, my bones had become hollow and my body was in a more serious condition than I thought. I was worried about the treatment cost and wanted to leave early, but the doctor told me I had to be hospitalized for a week. "Caroline, I always tell you to eat properly. I was shocked when you suddenly collapsed." Dane had always been concerned about my health. "Sorry for making you worry, but I don't have any money." "Didn't you have an eldest son? He's a doctor or something, right? He must be earning a good salary working at a hospital, so he could at least send you some money." "He's a pharmacist. I've been receiving support from him, but..." I smile awkwardly and close my mouth. "I receive a monthly allowance from Raymond, but it's too small to help with my living expenses. With the weekly medicine fee I paid to Samantha, even my pension has been significantly reduced. Dane says I should get more money, but I'm hesitant to accept money earned by others, even if they're family. However, what worries me now is the hospitalization cost. With my barely getting by lifestyle, I can't imagine affording such high medical bills. Also, I'm concerned about my precious rice brine pickles. If I don't stir them every 3 days, they'll go bad." After thanking Dane for returning to the store, I searched for my cell phone to contact Samantha. Looking at the screen, I saw that the battery had died. I don't remember Samantha's number, but I memorized Raymond's because it's similar to my home number. Samantha told me not to contact Raymond, but with things like this, I can't avoid it. I borrowed the hospital phone to call Raymond. "Hello?" "Oh, thank goodness. It's been a while since we connected, Raymond. It's your mother. Sorry to call you during work." Samantha had forbidden it, but I called Raymond from time to time. I just wanted to hear his cheerful voice, but for some reason he never answered my calls. Was he too busy with work to answer the phone? Anyway, I was relieved that the phone connected during this crucial time. I thought, who could this be? It's been a while since you called, Mom. Where are you calling from? I was reluctant to worry my eldest son, but I admitted I was in the hospital. I briefly explained to the surprised Raymond how I had collapsed and been hospitalized. "What, malnutrition? Mom, haven't you been eating properly? I've been sending you money for that reason." "Yes, I'm really grateful for that. Your support means a lot to me, but 60 cents might cost more in fees, so don't worry too much." 60 cents? Fees? What do you mean? With a puzzled tone, I told Raymond how I received 60 cents from him every month, and that I appreciated the gesture more than the amount. "I thought I was sending more money to Mom." Raymond finally speaks, as if squeezing out the words. "Wait, I'm curious about that too. But you mentioned malnutrition, right? Mom should have been going to the hospital every month, and she should be getting her medicine. Hasn't the doctor said anything until now?" "Yeah, I'm getting the medicine. Samantha delivers it to the house every week. I haven't been to the hospital in years. Lately, I've been having bad dizziness and palpitations, and I wanted to go to the hospital if possible, but Samantha said I'm busy, so maybe next time." "Just the medicine? Every week?" "Raymond, are you listening?" Raymond mumbles something on the phone. He seems to be worried about something. "Anyway, I know you're busy, but could you please bring me some clothes and insurance card on your next day off? And I'd like you to mix the rice brine pickles every 3 days. "All right. I have the keys to our parents' house, so I'll leave work early today and go there. Don't worry about the hospital bills. I'll be there by evening." Raymond seems strangely preoccupied, but I'm grateful he can come right away. "Thanks. Be sure to wash your hands well and mix the pickles with your bare hands." "Mom, I'm here. How are you feeling? Are you okay?" After the call, Raymond shows up in the afternoon. It seems he left work early. As he organizes the clothes and personal belongings he brought from the house, he asks me in detail about recent events. About the house, my health, the medicine, Samantha. It's like a continuation of this morning's phone call. He also brought my bank book from home, and we opened it to check the contents together. From the date 5 years ago, there's a series of deposit 60 cents entries. Raymond glares at them with a fierce expression. Since this morning's call, Raymond's behavior has been strange. Did something happen at work? I thought he must have been very busy, as I had tried calling him 2 or 3 times a month, but never got through and he never returned my calls. I feel bad for making him leave work early today. I casually apologize for it, and Raymond is taken aback and asks rapid-fire questions. He quickly takes out his smartphone and starts operating it intently as soon as he hears my story. What's been going on with him? Raymond gazes at the screen for a while, then operates his smartphone again to send a message to Samantha. He then grabs his backpack and says, "I'll be back shortly." He leaves the room. Left behind, I feel a strange sense of unease but lie down in bed anyway. That evening, Raymond returns to the room. He puts down his backpack and asks how I'm feeling. After receiving an IV and sleeping in a warm bed for the first time in a while, I feel much better. While snacking on fruit and chatting, Samantha comes into the room. "Oh, mother-in-law, how are you feeling? Raymond, you took time off work, huh?" She approaches us with a forced smile and sits in the chair next to Raymond. Raymond didn't reply, looking down and gripping my bank book in his hand. Before I could say anything, Raymond spoke up with a voice lower than usual. "Samantha, Mom's malnourished. Do you know why?" Samantha stayed silent. There was a tense atmosphere. Raymond turned to face Samantha, glaring at her head-on. "Mom's been broke for so long, barely able to buy food. It's not just food. She's been cutting back on electricity and gas, living on the edge for years. When I went to her place today, there wasn't even a heater in the dead of winter." "Well, wait, Raymond, we're in a hospital. What happened? It's not Samantha's fault there's no money." I tried to calm down the yelling eldest son while hiding my frostbitten, swollen red-black hand. Ignoring me, Raymond continued with an angry tone. "I asked you to send $1,100 to Mom every month, right? But she's only received 60 cents for the last 5 years. Samantha, what's going on?" Saying that, Raymond thrust my bank book at Samantha. On every page there was the number 60 cents. I couldn't believe my ears. I don't remember ever receiving $1,100. The money from Raymond was always 60 cents. Samantha, cornered by the furious Raymond, looked away from the bank book and fell silent. "That's not all. I give you $150 every week for Mom's medical expenses and medication, right? You said you were using the leftover money to buy her necessities and groceries, but there were only withered vegetables in her room. The fridge was empty." "Be quiet. I gave her the medicine." "What kind of medicine? Without a doctor's prescription, you decided to prescribe it yourself. All that was in Mom's house were basic vitamins. You bought some random vitamins at the drugstore where you work, put them in a medicine-like bag, and handed them over, didn't you? What were you thinking?" "I had no choice. I needed the money," Samantha yelled back to the furious Raymond. Even though this was a private room, we were still in a hospital. As I was shocked by the contents of the eldest son and his wife's conversation, I felt anxious. "You needed money? So you stole Mom's precious savings from her dresser too?" With that, Raymond pulled a crushed box out of his backpack. On the lid was a drawing of my husband and me, drawn by Raymond when he was a child. It was the box of rice crackers I had been searching for the last week. I too was so shocked that I gasped. What? No way!" I didn't want to believe it either, but I found it while searching through our trash after you said it disappeared a week ago. You really did it, didn't you? Faced with undeniable proof, Samantha turned pale and lost her words. "So what did you do with the $250,000 that was in this box, huh? And the $1,100 you were supposed to send to Mom every month, the hospital fees, and the medicine fees. Where did it all go?" "Stop nagging, there's no money left." Samantha, who had been trembling as she stared at the box, eventually stood up, knocking over her chair, and yelled back defiantly. "It's all your fault anyway. You always ignored me and focused on your mother. Ben is way better than you, my husband." "Huh? Ben?" "He's the coolest host at the club around here. I've been supporting him, and soon he'll be #1. He said he's saving all the money I've given him for our life together." As Samantha excitedly continued talking, both Raymond and I stared at her blankly. I didn't quite understand, but it seemed she had fallen for a man and was providing him with money. Apparently, she needed a lot of money for that. Alright, Samantha, I get it. Let's get a divorce right here for the sake of your life with this Ben guy. Raymond quietly said this and took out the divorce papers and a seal from his backpack, placing them on the side table. I never want to see your face again. Sign the divorce papers here, pack your things tonight, and leave the house. I'll stay at the hospital tonight. What? Don't be so selfish. You can't just suddenly... Samantha, do you even realize what you've done? Faking medicine, stealing money. If you don't want a divorce, we can go straight to the police instead. Samantha, who had been so confident, flinched under Raymond's intimidating gaze, and eventually started making tearful excuses. I had no choice. My part-time job wasn't enough. I took a little from the money you sent and the medicine fees, but I know it was wrong. Besides, neither you nor your mother noticed for years, right? You both share some responsibility. Enough. I don't know when you did it, but you went through my phone and blocked Mom's number. You even told her not to contact me, didn't you? You deliberately kept us apart and exploited her without getting caught. Raymond slammed the divorce papers on the table with his fist. Samantha flinched. Anyway, Samantha, this is goodbye. I'll make sure you pay back every penny you've taken from us. Remember that if you don't, we're going to the police. Finally realizing the gravity of her actions, Samantha couldn't say anything and signed the divorce papers with tears in her eyes. Samantha left the house that night as Raymond had told her to, like she was running away. In exchange for not reporting her to the police, Raymond made sure to demand repayment of the money she'd taken. The amount she'd taken for the last 5 years since my husband's death, including the money for living expenses and medicine in my savings, totaled to over $900,000. I was shocked. Samantha later lost contact with the host she had given so much money to and went berserk in the club, getting herself banned. Bad rumors seemed to spread from nowhere, and before she knew it, they reached her part-time job, resulting in her being fired. With her income gone and not a penny to her name, Samantha couldn't rent an apartment and had to spend some time sleeping in internet cafes, but what happened to her after that is unknown. I had almost given up on getting back the money Samantha had taken as she had disappeared, but her family, who learned of the situation, decided to repay the debt in small amounts on her behalf. It might be difficult to recover the full amount of stolen money, but I was happy with their gesture. After being discharged from the hospital, I decided to leave with Raymond. We're living peacefully together in the house Samantha left, just the two of us. I had been forced to live a difficult life, being exploited by Samantha, but now in our warm, comfortable home, I'm eating well and my health has improved. Dane, the greengrocer who has always been worried about me, finally felt relieved. I still continue to make my specialty pickles. I used to do it just as a hobby and for saving money, but now, with Raymond's help, we're sharing information on how to make good pickles and delicious pickle recipes. In a few years, my pickle channel became hugely popular, possibly because an 80-year-old content creator was a novelty, and now it brings in an amazing income. I had always thought that making money was impossible for me, as I had never worked as a full-time employee, but even I can be useful to others. More than earning money, I've come to know the happiness of bringing joy to others, and now live a fulfilling life every day.
My name is Hannah. I'm 30 years old, and I'm both the chef and the owner of a high-end steakhouse. Both of my parents were steak chefs, and I grew up watching them serve amazing steaks that made their customers incredibly happy. Inspired by my parents, I decided to follow in their culinary footsteps. After years of hard work, I finally achieved my dream of becoming a steakhouse chef. And even better, 3 years ago, I opened my own high-end steakhouse. And not to brag, but our steakhouse is top-notch. Not just in terms of the steaks and wine, but the ambience as well. The skills my parents ingrained in me, like how to cut and cook the meat, have made the restaurant extremely popular. We're usually packed with a long line of people waiting to get in. It feels so rewarding to see everyone eating so happily. The smiles on the faces of our satisfied customers, seen from the kitchen and across the counter, energize me through my busy days as the chef and the owner of this popular steakhouse. But lately, something has been troubling me so much that even those smiles can't lift my spirits. One day, while I was hurriedly cooking steaks in our bustling restaurant, boss, Kimberly, my friend since culinary school who also works here, hesitantly called out to me. I looked where Kimberly was pointing and saw a woman in her late 60s along with a man and a woman in her late 30s, all chomping down on their steaks while rattling off pretentious food commentary. Ugh, those jerks are making a mess while acting like know-it-alls again. Matthew, another friend from culinary school who was cooking steaks next to me and also Kimberly's brother, clenched his teeth in anger. That's right. They aren't first-timers at this restaurant. They have been here more than once or twice. They were my husband Kevin's mother Amanda and his brother and sister. If they were just making a mess while spouting off food trivia, that would be one thing, but I'm stuffed, let's go. Right after finishing their meals, my mother-in-law, brother-in-law, and sister-in-law brazenly tried to leave without even paying.
Hey, wait a minute, where do you think you're going?
Matthew dashed out of the kitchen to catch up with my in-laws. What? We're just leaving because we finished eating.
Did you all leave last time without paying too?
We have told you before, haven't we? This place belongs to our son's wife, so we eat for free all we want. Hearing the shameless statement from my mother-in-law, the atmosphere amongst the other customers started to change. I sighed internally. Not this again. The heated exchange between Matthew and mother-in-law continued.
Do you really think you can get away with this? We have other paying customers too. Don't confuse them. Pay your bill this time, please.
Are you kidding? This is my son's wife's restaurant. We can do whatever we want.
Don't act so entitled in our restaurant.
The argument escalated into a shouting match. Matthew, myself, Kimberly, and even some customers tried to intervene. In the end, mother-in-law left in a huff without paying, taking her son and daughter-in-law with her. Right, this is the issue that's been driving me up the wall lately. My mother-in-law thinks it's okay to bring her family and friends to my restaurant just because I'm married to her son. They eat all they want and then leave without paying the bill. Can you believe that this time, they even did a dine and dash right in front of other customers? What's worse, since the day of this incident, customer traffic has started to decline a bit. At this rate, the restaurant I worked so hard to build is in jeopardy. After 2 months of racking my brain about what to do, I got a call from my mother-in-law. Hello? Hannah, reserve a table for 20 people tonight. What? Caught off guard, my head went blank. My relatives are visiting from the countryside. You'll be free, right? Reserve the entire place. Wait a minute, I can't just... Before I could finish my sentence, my mother-in-law hung up the phone with a dismissive laugh. As if it wasn't bad enough that they have repeatedly dined and dashed on us, now they have caused a scene and worsened our already shaky business. But I can't ignore a reservation no matter how it comes in. So I briefed Matthew, Kimberly, and the rest of the staff on the situation. We prepared for the reservation and I even contacted a certain individual. And that night, mother-in-law nonchalantly showed up at the restaurant bringing along not just brother-in-law and sister-in-law but also a group of 17 other people who appeared to be relatives. As we served them the prepared feast, including steak, we kept a watchful eye on mother-in-law. Then one of the relatives asked her nervously, "Is it okay to eat at such an upscale place?" "Of course, darling. Why worry? We're family, so it's all you can eat, right?" Mother-in-law called out to me in the kitchen without a hint of shame. "Wait a minute, that's not quite..." "See? Just eat up and don't worry about it. If I was gonna pay for food, I would go to a place with a real chef." Ignoring my concerns, my mother-in-law cheerfully encouraged the uneasy relatives and kept digging into the steaks with them. I knew it. My uneasy feeling had just turned into a solid concern. Up until now, I have been hosting them out of respect for being my husband's family, but causing a scene, offering no apology and then casually saying they would go somewhere else if they had to pay for 20 people? Unbelievable. An hour later, just as I expected, my mother-in-law, now full, said, "I'm stuffed. Let's head back. I'll guide you to the hotel." And she tried to leave the restaurant without paying, chuckling with my brother-in-law, sister-in-law, and other relatives. I couldn't let this slide. Matthew, Kimberly, and I blocked their path. "Wait a minute.
If you're leaving after eating, you need to settle the bill.
I said firmly, glaring at her. She brushed it off with a smile. What are you talking about? Oh, we're family. And your point is? You think that's some magic phrase? Normally you pay for what you eat no matter where you are. Well, normally, yes. But think about it. When we come to your house and you feed us, we don't pay, right? She kept talking back. Holding back my anger, I continued, That's true. But where do you think you are now? This isn't a friend or family's home. It's a legitimate restaurant. So what? Whether it's a shop or not, it doesn't change the fact that it's my daughter-in-law's place. Charging money just because the location is different makes no sense. Even as the relatives tried to intervene, seeing her completely condescending expression, she showed no signs of changing her attitude. As everyone, Matthew, Kimberly, and even the other staff members grew angry, I decided it was time to reveal a truth I had been hiding. Amanda, clearly you're not listening. Do you know that right now I'm single? At this, mother-in-law's laughter stopped and her face formed 3 circles, one with her eyes and one with her mouth. Brother-in-law, sister-in-law, and the relatives did the same. However, a few seconds later, mother-in-law burst out laughing again. What are you even talking about? There is no way Kevin would divorce me without telling me. It's no lie. We are really divorcing, which means you and I are no longer part of the family. Huh? Then why didn't Kevin say anything until now? Exactly. Kevin, my now ex-husband, hadn't informed mother-in-law of this fact. During dinner earlier, mother-in-law had been complaining about not receiving any messages from her son. Well, Kevin didn't want to contact you because you two don't get along. He even told me not to say anything when we were divorcing. He said he would tell you when the time is right. What? At this, both brother-in-law and sister-in-law along with the relatives were visibly disturbed. That is when Matthew seized the opportunity to speak up.
That said, your bill comes to $3,000 for all 20 of you.
At the mention of $3,000, mother-in-law and the relatives were stunned, a wave of shock spreading among them. What? There's no way we can pay that on the spot. Why is it $3,000 for a steak dinner that we could have had at home?
The nerve. If anyone should stop, it's you. Plus, our steaks are not the kind you eat at home. We source the meat every morning and maintain it at the right temperature.
$3,000 for that? The mother-in-law tried to laugh it off with a malicious smile, but the relatives gave her awkward glances in return. Increasingly exasperated with my ex-mother-in-law, Matthew, followed by Kimberly, finally speaks up.
As the manager said, we are a steakhouse. We don't offer all-you-can-eat or drink specials. Plus, our prices per item aren't cheap.
Right. If you're going to stuff your face like that, it's obvious the bill would come to $3,000. Hearing both of them, the relatives turned on mother-in-law with a unified aggressive stance. What's going on here? You said something different earlier. You told us you settled things with the manager, so we didn't need to bring any money. I only brought enough for transportation to the hotel, one mumbled among other complaints. Faced with their collective ire, mother-in-law panicked. Then she inexplicably grew angry at my anger. How dare you shame me in front of all these relatives? Should I sue you for defamation? Be my guest, but before that, we will report you for dying and dashing, and we will also discuss your prior offenses as fraudulent consumer behavior. What did you just say? Confused and increasingly confrontational in response to my anger, my mother-in-law is hastily stopped by relatives, but she breaks away from them and becomes even more aggressive towards me. What have you done to our precious eldest son, Kevin? There must be a major reason for him wanting a divorce. Why are you assuming I'm at fault? Kevin is perfect. He's good at his job and handles household chores. I can't forgive this. You're paying the bill as alimony.
This ludicrous claim left not just me but also the restaurant staff dumbfounded. What nonsense is this middle-aged woman spouting?
She probably doesn't want to admit she's wrong, so embarrassing considering she's older than us. Matthew and Kimberly chimed in. I sensed something about mother-in-law's feudal resistance. I see. So those are your motives? Well, I couldn't have possibly contacted you after what you did. What are you talking about? I didn't say anything because I was gagged, but the reason for the divorce is Kevin's infidelity and abusive behavior. My words struck mother-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, and the other relatives like a bolt of lightning. So I laid out the truth about the divorce. You see, Kevin, no, my ex-husband, didn't just neglect his job. He stole money from me. Money I had saved before our marriage, while he partied with multiple women and drank heavily. On top of that, he was emotionally abusive toward me. In the end, he started accumulating debt without my knowledge. So divorce was the only option. Wait, debt? How much are we talking about? Adding up everything, including loans from friends and my own parents, we're looking at around $40,000. At this, mother-in-law's face turned white as a sheet. I initially gave you all a pass on the dine and dash habit, thinking it was a one-time thing. But after the fiasco 2 months ago, I can't let it slide anymore. Plus, we have booked the entire restaurant today. So, if you don't pay, we are in the red. As I said this, the relatives grew furious in unison. Some even started demanding that mother-in-law repay them the money they had lent her over the years. Mother-in-law, brother-in-law, and sister-in-law were visibly shocked and confused when suddenly the restaurant door burst open and a man stepped in. Owen? Mother-in-law exclaimed, recognizing the man. It was Owen, father-in-law, a physical education lecturer at a university in the city. He surveyed the scene, sighed deeply, and then bowed his head to me.
Hannah, it's been a while. I'm really sorry for the mess my foolish wife has caused.
No, Owen, I should apologize for calling you in the midst of your busy day. That's right. Actually, it was me who reached out to my father-in-law. Upon hearing about mother-in-law's troubling actions, including the full reservation of this restaurant, he promised to come and have a word with her as soon as he could. What are you doing here? Mother-in-law shrieked.
Amanda, show some respect. Even if she's an ex, she's someone who's had to put up with our idiotic son.
But you said you would be late because of work.
Yes, but Hannah called me earlier. I was teaching at the university, so I couldn't leave immediately.
He sighed again. I'm really sorry for having to drag you into this.
There is no need for you to apologize, Hannah. I heard everything while standing at the entrance. I know the situation.
With that, father-in-law glared at mother-in-law.
Hey, Amanda, what's the deal? You have been dine and dashing repeatedly and you almost caused a scene last time?
No. You've got it wrong. I only have $60 on me right now.
What? Are you kidding me, Amanda? You come to a high-end restaurant and that's all you bring? You can't even pay for a single meal?
Father-in-law's anger exploded and mother-in-law trembled visibly. After letting out a big sigh to contain his anger, father-in-law continued.
As I said earlier, I heard what happened at the entrance. Not just Kevin, but you too, Amanda. You've been acting so recklessly and shamelessly.
No. It's not like that. The real problem here is Hannah. She knew about the divorce and didn't say a word.
Enough excuses. Kevin is the one who silenced her, and he is the root cause of all this mess.
Father-in-law's booming voice made not only mother-in-law but also the relatives and the wait staff, including Matthew and Kimberly, gasp and tremble. Noticing this, father-in-law cleared his throat and deeply bowed to us.
I apologize for the scene and for my foolish wife. I'll cover the bill and the debts my relatives have mentioned. Please forgive us.
You're doing what? Mother-in-law was shocked, but father-in-law continued to me.
And regarding the alimony for Kevin's divorce, I would like to discuss it later. I also bear responsibility for my son's actions, so...
No need. Kevin's existing debts are already taken as alimony, so please don't worry.
Really? Both my son and I owe everyone an apology.
Father-in-law bowed deeply again and turned to mother-in-law. I'm so sorry.
Don't get me wrong, I said I would cover the costs for now, and you will pay it back later with your own earnings.
At this point, brother-in-law and sister-in-law who were pointed out by father-in-law were utterly shocked. Father-in-law declared that if they had been dine and dashing along with mother-in-law, they were equally guilty. He cut off all ties with mother-in-law, brother-in-law, and sister-in-law on that very day. Later, father-in-law covered the $3,000 for today's meal, the $14,000 for past dine and dashing, and around $10,000 for mother-in-law's debts to relatives, a total of $27,000. Apparently, part of mother-in-law's debts was due to dine and dashing at my restaurant, but it was later revealed that she had also been financially supporting a younger man. Upon discovering this, father-in-law was furious beyond words, and the situation with mother-in-law became so irreparable that they divorced. Additionally, he cut ties with brother-in-law and sister-in-law as well. And so, the ousted trio, mother-in-law, brother-in-law, and sister-in-law, moved into a cheap apartment in the city. They're juggling part-time jobs to pay off their debts and working from dawn till dusk. Mind you, all of them are struggling. Mother-in-law, who has always been a housewife, along with brother-in-law and sister-in-law who relied solely on father-in-law's income despite having college degrees, are all finding it hard to adapt to their first jobs. They're getting yelled at by younger bosses and colleagues almost every day. On the flip side, things are looking up for me, including this recent episode. Relatives and friends who used to come with mother-in-law are now visiting on their own, and guess what? They're actually paying for their meals. They're genuinely thrilled with the high quality of the food and service. So as much as I thank mother-in-law for this one silver lining, the smiles of these satisfied customers keep me, Matthew, Kimberly, and the rest of the staff going strong.